welcome back to another video. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to talk about all the books that I read in July. I actually read a fair few this month. I feel like in July I always read more than any other month. I don't know if it's because it's summer or it's my birthday so I'm getting new books. I don't really know exactly what it is, but once again it's been my best month of the year so far. So really excited to talk about everything I read this month. Okay, so in July I read 14 books and according to Storygraph my average rating is 3.98, which is so good. Definitely had some highly rated reads in July. The first book I finished in July was The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I can't believe that was just in July. It feels like ages ago that I read this. I really loved this book. It definitely lived up to the hype. I thought I was going to love it from what I'd seen, but with a book this big, I was a bit nervous. I was a bit intimidated by it. I'd had it on my shelves for so long. I'm so glad that I've finally read it. One of my biggest points of praise for this is it's such a big complex fantasy world and you're dropped right into the middle of all these conflicts, but I didn't think the world building was clunky or difficult to understand. I thought it was blended in so well, and that feeling that you get when you're dropped into a new fantasy world and you have all the world building and you feel like you have no idea what's going on. I feel like there wasn't that much of this at the start at all. Obviously a little bit like with any fantasy book, but I feel like this was done in such a way that it felt like you were learning things very naturally through the characters, and I loved that. We have 4 POVs and they're all people from different parts of this world that we're in, and they all have completely different beliefs, different views on who the enemy is, different views on what happened historically that has influenced their cultures, their customs, their religions, and it's so interesting to see how their beliefs differ, where they line up, where we can see the differences have come from. I found it so interesting. I didn't find any of the 4 characters boring to follow at all. I enjoyed all 4 of the POVs. Another thing I loved is we have this map. Can you see? Yes. This is such a good map. I love when the map at the start of a fantasy book, you actually want to use it. Does that make sense? Like, they're moving around a lot and I was constantly flipping back to the front to be like, okay, they're over here. Okay, they're over here. I love it. And as well, it has like the second bit of the map. So when you go like past this, you got the other page. I thought the map was really good. I know that sounds so silly, but I love that it's actually functional and it actually was really helpful to follow the story and see where everybody was in comparison to everybody else. I really enjoyed that. Like I was saying, everyone has kind of a different idea of who the enemy is, who the bad guys are, because of the way that their country's beliefs have stemmed from this history. And that was really interesting because I felt like it wasn't black and white. The characters were very complex. They were really interesting to follow. I really enjoyed the relationships and I really enjoyed seeing how characters with different beliefs could learn these new things and kind of learn to understand each other and work together for the good of the whole world rather than just their individual places. I thought it was just so good. It was impossible to be bored. There's so much happening in this book. It is long. I will give you that. It is huge. It really is. It's over 800 pages. But I will tell you, the payoff is there. If you're intimidated by this, but you're a fantasy lover, I can't imagine anyone who enjoys fantasy wouldn't love this. For me, it just had everything, and I'm so glad that I finally read it. I will say I started this when I was going on a long trip, so I did read it in big chunks. I do feel like that probably helped me. I think that sitting down and letting yourself get fully immersed would be the best thing, especially for a book of this length. If you're reading it in bits and bobs, I think it would be easy to feel a bit lost. But if you sit down and read like a good chunk of it to start, I think you'll be hooked and hopefully love it as much as I did. I gave this 5 stars. You'll not be surprised to hear I just really loved it. I still have the next book, A Day of Fallen Night. Is that what it's called? It's something like that. and I have that on my shelf. I'm really excited. Hopefully I'll get to read that soon. That is a prequel to this, and there's another prequel that I will be getting. It's not out in paperback yet, but once it's out in paperback I will be getting it because I love this and I'm so excited that I have more of the world to get into still. It's such a lovely feeling to be like, oh, I love this book so much and there's more of it that I'll get to read at some point. That's so exciting. Yeah, love this one. Couldn't recommend it enough. Okay, the next book I finished was on audio and it was The One by John Mars. This was a bit of a weird one because I'd kind of seen this book pop up in YouTube videos and Instagram posts and things, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll give that a listen. And then when I went to put it on my tracking apps, it says I'd already read it, but it was a really long time ago and I think I must have just not been very engaged because once I got into it a bit, some of it was sounding familiar, but I didn't remember what ended up happening or all of the plot points. So I did listen to it all again and I did enjoy it. This is set in a world where there's a new company you can send your DNA to and they'll tell you who your soulmate is based on your DNA. They found that there's something in your genes that will tell you you have actually a soulmate. It was kind of Black Mirror vibes, but it didn't feel super out of the realm of possibility. Like, I don't think I'd be super surprised if something like this popped up at some point. It was a fun, interesting concept. I was definitely interested in the story. It follows a lot of very different characters, so it was cool to get those completely different perspectives on how it would affect somebody if this did happen. It is a thriller. It was very dramatic. There was a lot of crazy stuff happening, but yeah, I really enjoyed my time listening to it. It was fun. And something a wee bit different because it's giving thriller vibes, but it also has that kind of sci-fi dystopian vibe to it as well. Some of it did feel a wee bit silly. I mean, it's a bit of a crazy concept. It's a bit of a crazy book. Like I said, it's very dramatic. But I really had fun listening to it. It was interesting, it was engaging, and I gave it 3.5 stars. I finished one other audiobook in July and it was Exit 8 by Genki Kawamura. I was just looking for like a wee short horror audiobook and this came up on my BookBeat and I just decided to give it a go. I didn't know anything about this going in, but it's about someone who gets off a train and they're trying to get out of the station, but they just keep going round and round and round and they need to look for weird things going on in order to get out. It sounded really interesting, but I just could not get into it. I just didn't really like the way it was written. It didn't grab me. I found it quite boring and I kept having to rewind because I realised I hadn't been paying proper attention. I don't know, I know that there was a movie as well. I think maybe it would be better as a movie. I just didn't love the book. I just found it a wee bit boring. I just think it wasn't for me. I don't really have much else to say on it. I didn't love it. I gave it 2 stars. Alright, the next book that I finished in July was The Spirit Bears Its Teeth by Andrew Joseph White. I loved this book. It was my first ever Andrew Joseph White and I'm definitely going to be reading more because I enjoyed this one so much. This is a queer horror. We have a trans boy main character and he's sent to this school to become a good wife, which is as horrible as it sounds. It's set in the 1800s, so as you can imagine, no understanding of queer people, of disabilities. Like, there's a lot of stuff about autism, neurodivergence in here, no understanding of that. It is dark, it's gory, it's emotional. We're in the 1800s, as I said, and we're in London, and in this world some people have this ability to open up the veil between life and death and communicate with ghosts, spirits. And of course our main character has this ability, and in this world women, girls aren't allowed to use the ability in the same way that the men are, but they're very desirable as a wife. Horrible, really horrible. It's such an awful environment for not only our main character but obviously the other young people that have been put into this school facility. But I really enjoyed the way it was written. It had so much heart and emotion in it, and just the heartbreak of the main character finally being able to find people to relate to and connect to, but they're all in this horrible place because of course that's where people like him are put, in this time, in this world. It was gory and dark and disturbing. I would definitely look up triggers if you're going to read this, but so well done. The world was so interesting, and even though it's so supernatural and there's all that going on, so rooted in reality, with how people just are not willing to understand others sometimes. I really enjoyed the found family aspect of it as well. Obviously these are people whose families are not supportive of them, and they kind of learn to put aside their differences with each other and protect each other in this horrible place. I really loved that. That was so amazing. I didn't find it predictable at all. I was really surprised by some of the things that happened. I was like, my jaw was on the floor at some moments. I was absolutely hooked to this, and I just loved it. I can't recommend it enough. If you're a horror reader, absolutely you should pick this up. The cover, I'm absolutely obsessed with the cover as well. So cool. I have seen that I think this is classed as YA. Don't let that put you off if you are not a young adult. Neither am I at this point. The only way this is YA is that the characters are young. The characters are 16, but it's not toned down in any way. It's not like soft in any way at all. This is just a horror book, but the characters are young. It is not in any way softened. So yeah, don't let that put you off. When I bought it, in here at this country in Waterstones, it was just in the horror section, it wasn't in the YA section. So yeah, I wouldn't say that should put anybody off due to your age range or anything. If you like horror, I think you will like this. Obviously I did like it, I loved it, and I gave it 5 stars, and I cannot wait to read some more Andrew Joseph White at some point soon. This next lot of books that I read were in my previous video, which was I tried to read a novella every day for a week while I was off work. So I don't want to go too much into these because I go into them in my last video, but I'll go through them quickly, just give a summary of what I thought and my ratings. But yeah, check out that video if you haven't, if you want to see me reading them kind of through the week and what I was thinking at the time. That's in my previous video. Okay, first one was A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen L. Peck. I liked this. I wanted to like it a little bit more. I really enjoyed the concept. We've got somebody has died and gone to the afterlife, and they're put into this huge library where they have to find the book that tells the story of their life. But the library is nearly endless. Not quite. That is a big point. It's not quite endless, but it's massive. The concept was really interesting. It was really existential. I really liked some parts of the writing. I think I just wanted just something a little bit more from it. But overall, I did really enjoy it, and I'm glad I read it. And I rated it 3.75 stars. Alright, the next one is The Employees by Olga Raven. Really enjoyed this. I'm really glad because I was really wanting to read it. I wanted it for a long time, so really glad I finally read it. It's all little short statements from different employees at this place of work, and very strange, weird eeriness vibes. It kind of felt like reading like an SCP or something, or like listening to a weird podcast like a Welcome to Night Vale or a Magnus Archives or something like that. Kind of had that weird eeriness where it's like slowly things are getting weirder and weirder. I really enjoyed it. It was my kind of strange. Don't go into expecting to get all the answers, but if you are looking for like a interesting, weird time, I would recommend it. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars. The next one I don't have because I've already put it on Vinted and posted it, so that'll tell you that I did not like it, and it was Perfection by Vincenzo Latronico. It just was not for me. It was not saying anything new or interesting in my opinion. It was about a millennial couple who tried to move to a different country, and it was very much like Phone is Bad, and it wasn't saying anything new, and there was some weird bits that I was like, this better be for something, and then it wasn't for anything. I just feel like it didn't say anything interesting, and it was like satire, but it didn't go into anything in any depth, in my opinion. Just really wasn't for me. I gave it 2 stars. Okay, next up we have The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Caw, another one I was so excited to read and another one that I really, really enjoyed. So glad. It's about a mermaid and a plague doctor. I don't really want to say anymore. It's as weird as you think it is. It's very strange, very surreal. It's like a weird, dark, gory fairy tale, and I love that vibe. It was very for me. I would say it takes a wee bit of getting into. You're kind of thrown in, and it's a bit confusing at first because you don't have a clue what's going on, but you do learn things as you go, and the world is so interesting. I would absolutely read a longer story in this world because the things we get, the knowledge that we get, so interesting, so strange. I really, really enjoyed it and I gave it 5 stars. Okay, next up we have Summer Hours by Alessandra Tom. This is a sapphic lit fic by a Scottish author set in Scotland. Love to read Scotland from a Scottish author so much. This was a really good sit and just read it all in one go in like a weekend afternoon kind of read. I really enjoyed it. It had really complex characters and the relationships are all over the place. It's about a girl who has a weird relationship with her best friend and then gets into an even weirder relationship with her best friend's boyfriend's sister. It's an absolute mess. It's very much woman in her 20s who is all over the place vibes. And I really, really liked it. There were a couple of things, I said this in the vlog, but there were a couple of things that like didn't line up about Glasgow. You will not notice that unless you're from Glasgow, but I noticed it. And I think maybe I would have liked a little bit more of the ending, but overall I like this. I haven't read anything from this author before. I kind of just picked it up on a whim, so I liked it more than I was expecting. Pleasantly surprised. As I said, really enjoyed just kind of sitting and reading it at a leisurely pace, and I gave it 3.75. Last novella was Rizzio by Denise Mina. This is another Scotland by a Scottish author. Read, loved it. This one's historical. It's about Mary Queen of Scots and it's about her real life like advisor that people murdered him. I feel like I kind of knew base level about this story, but it was interesting to kind of learn some more stuff about it. Definitely think it was really well done. I could tell that the author was really interested in the subject and cared about it and had researched it a lot, in my opinion. So I really enjoyed that about it. I haven't read any Denise Mina before. She's kind of on my radar, but yeah, I enjoyed this way more than I was expecting to, so I'm definitely interested in checking out some more from her now. So yeah, pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed this one as well, and I gave it 4.25 stars. This next book I also did talk a bit about in my last video, and it is The Odyssey by Homer, if you've heard of him, and I read the Emily Wilson translation. I had a lot of fun with this. I was reading it in the run up to seeing the movie, which I also enjoyed, and I haven't read any other translations to compare this one, but I'm glad that I listened to the hype and went with the Emily Wilson translation because it was my first full read and I didn't find it difficult. I liked the way it was written, so yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, is it controversial to say, oh, it's the Odyssey, like it's 5 stars? Like, it's amazing. It's done so much, like you can see the influence for so many things, and I enjoyed reading it. I'm glad to say that I have read it. It was fun to have read it and go and see the movie having read it, which is kind of why I was doing it. So yeah, I had a good time. Yeah, fun. It's the Odyssey. I don't really know. Everyone knows. It was good. I enjoyed it. Alright, the next book that I finished in July was a book club pick for Chapter 25 book club that I go to in Glasgow, and it was Hekate by Nikita Gill. Absolutely love this cover again. This is a Greek mythology retelling. I think probably it was picked because it's Odyssey bubble season. So that was quite fun. I think I was really excited for this because Hekate is such an interesting character. I like Greek mythology, I like learning about it, but I don't know loads and loads. So I was really excited to learn more about Hekate. I thought it's going to be quite dark, it's going to be super interesting. I think she's quite a complex character, so I was excited. I just feel like this didn't really live up to my expectations. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it, you know? It was just a bit boring. I really was expecting to be more interested in this. I don't know if it's a bit more of an introduction to Greek mythology, but on the other hand, I do think that you do need some prior knowledge, because when I went to the meetup for this, there were some people who are big into mythology and they didn't like it because they felt it wasn't interesting enough. There were some people who don't know any mythology and they were a bit confused by some of the things that were happening. So I feel like you have to be at a really specific knowledge level to enjoy this. It felt like the whole time I was waiting for the book to start, it was all very pedestrian. I don't think that it really picked up, and she's always saying further in anyway, she keeps going on like they're all scared of her, but we never see that. We never see this toughness and this big power that she's supposed to have. We never see this rage, and I just wanted more from it. I wanted it to be more. It was just very nothing. It didn't really give me anything that I wanted from it, I don't think. This is all written in verse, which was interesting. I can see that Nikita Gill is a really talented writer, but I think that makes it a bit more disappointing because I don't think I really understand what she was going for with this, because it didn't really do anything special for me. It didn't excite me really. I really liked part one when she's a child and it was kind of getting into the story. That was my favourite part of the book, because for the rest of the book it just felt like it didn't really go anywhere. It was just all build up for nothing. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed in this because I just thought it was going to be more exciting, and I just thought it was going to be, I don't know, something that it just wasn't. I think it is marketed as YA. Again, not 100% sure, so maybe that's why. Maybe she didn't want to go too dark, but I don't think that, I think it could have been more. I think she could have done more with this character, who is so interesting. She just made this really interesting dark character a bit boring. So yeah, unfortunately, I just ended up not loving it, and I gave it 3 stars. I know that there's other ones coming out. This is going to be Goddesses of the Underworld. I think it's going to be a trilogy. I'm not sure if I'll pick up the next one, kind of, because I enjoyed the writing and the start of this. I kind of want to see if maybe they'll get better as they go. I'll maybe wait and see how people are talking about it when it comes out and then decide. But yeah, gutty about this one. Wasn't my favourite. Next up was another book club pick just for a wee local bookshop in Glasgow, and it was Endling by Maria Reva, and I really enjoyed this as well. It was so unique and so strange and interesting. I've never really read anything like it before. I really don't want to say too much because I think if you go into this not knowing some of the things, you'll be really like blown away by it. So the main plot is about a girl who, her passion in life is finding endangered snails and trying to save them, trying to find other snails and put them in a safe place, and yeah, she's trying to save endangered species of snails, and she drives a big RV that has like a mobile lab in the back, and she's a bit strange, and to get money to fund this goal in her life, she starts working for a company for people who come to Ukraine to try and find basically a mail order bride. So she starts working as a bride for this company to get money with the intention of obviously not marrying any of these men. Obviously, I forgot to say that this is set in Ukraine. So that's basically our main strand. We've also got another POV from another girl who's working at the company. She has her own motivations. Her mum has left her and her sister behind, and she was very politically outspoken, hated these companies that did the brides. And she thinks by working for one of these companies, it'll kind of draw her mum out in anger to like come back and tell her to stop. So that's kind of her goal. So we've got, those are kind of our 2 main points of view. We've got stuff about the kind of misogyny and the kind of men that come over for these types of experiences and trips. and why they would be doing that kind of thing. And then also we've got so much about the politics in Ukraine and with the war with Russia and things like that. So there's a lot going on in here, and it is complicated, and it is so strangely done. I've not read anything like this before. I really don't want to give away much more because I think it's such a strange experience to read, and I think if any of that sounds interesting to you, you should just give it a go. I know that I've not sold it very well. It is a lot, there's a lot going on, but it was a really interesting read. I think that the writing was really good here. Never read anything by this author before, but yeah, I was definitely surprised by it. It was unpredictable, and it was funny, it was emotional, it also was educational. I feel like I learned something from it, and I really enjoyed our main characters. They're very odd, and I enjoyed the way they kind of warm to each other and become friends and things like that. That was really nice to read. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, it was a really strange read, but I enjoyed my time with it. It was a really fun experience. I would never have picked this up if it wasn't for a book club, so I'm really glad that I did. Yeah, it was such an interesting, enjoyable experience that I couldn't give it anything other than 5 stars. I know that I've not really given enough information for you to judge, but if I'm intriguing you, I would say pick it up. Why not? I enjoyed my time with it. It was so good for a book club as well because there's just so much to talk about. There was just so many different discussion points, but everybody enjoyed it. But yeah, loads to talk about. Really good for a book club. If you're looking for a book club pick that maybe people wouldn't have read because it's a bit weird, I would recommend this. It was really interesting to discuss. Okay, last but not least, we have The Killer Question by Janice Hallett. This was super fun. I always find Janice Hallett's books a really easy, fun experience. They're mixed media, they're a really fun format, so it's really easy to keep reading when you're getting all the information in these little easily digestible chunks. This one's about 2 pub landlords who are missing, and now one of their relatives is trying to get a TV studio to make a true crime documentary about it, and he's sending through bit by bit all the information until the big reveal of what happened to them to try and convince the TV studio that this would make a good documentary. I'll always pick up the next Janice Hallett because I just really enjoy the experience of reading them. It's super fun, super quick, just a really nice time to read. It feels like different to your normal reading experience. It was a really nice palette cleanser because I was reading a lot of like quite heavy lit fic and fantasy and horror, and it was nice to have like a wee murder mystery to kind of break up the crazy stuff that I've been reading. They are very UK vibes. I don't know how it would feel to read this if you're not in the UK because there's so many like references to shops and like TV shows and things like that. Especially in this one, it was really a lot about pub quizzes, and I feel like I can't imagine like what it would be like to read them and not be from the UK. But I don't know, I think you probably are, a million people have done that. I just don't know. But yeah, I like this one. It was a bit silly at some points, but as always, a really fun experience. I think she's got another one coming out fairly soon. I'll definitely be picking it up. I really enjoy reading them, as always, and I gave this one a 4. Alright, that's every book that I read in July. I feel like that was a pretty good month. We had a couple of low ratings, but a few really high ones. I really enjoyed a lot of these books. Some new favourites on here, some that I've been wanting to read for a really long time, crossed off the TBR, so that's obviously amazing. Obviously, I have some book club books to read in August. I have joined a new book club. I know I wasn't in enough already, so just had to join another one. It's the Sapphic Book Club for Glasgow. So exciting, so fun. I love to try and be social and make new friends to do with books. So this one I'm really excited. And the book is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El Motar. One of my favourite books literally of all time. This will be my third time reading it and I'm so excited to read it again. I feel like this is one of the best books for a reread because every time you read it, you're kind of getting something else out of it because it is very... There's a hair in my eye. The first time you read it, you are very confused. So reading it for the second time, you're getting a whole new perspective on it. So I'm so excited to read it again, just refresh my memory and get back into the world and these characters. This book is so stunningly written. If you've not read it, read it. And if you start reading it and you're like, oh, I'm too confused, please push through. The payoff is so worth it and the writing is absolutely beautiful. I love this book. I'm so excited to read it again. I'm also going to join Mother Horror on Instagram. Her book club on Fable called Nightworms is doing House of Leaves this month. And I have started House of Leaves once and I wasn't not enjoying it. It just felt like such a commitment and I just wasn't quite ready at the time. I really want to read it, but I just wasn't ready at the time, and I feel like if I'm reading it along with other people in the Fable and I can kind of see what everyone's saying and discuss it a little bit, I'm way more likely to finish it. So I'm really determined. I'm going to do it this time and I'm super excited. I can't wait to finish this one. It's so big. And if you don't know about House of Leaves, like, it gets crazy. There's so many appendices, there's weird format stuff. It's basically about this guy moves in to an apartment. I'm pretty sure this is right. I'm really sorry if it's not. He moves into an apartment and the guy before has died in there. And he had written this big book about a found footage film that doesn't actually exist. So he has this big record of this film that there's no trace of anywhere. It's very kind of surreal and weird vibes. I'm really, really interested. I really want to learn what's going on. I really want to know. I want to find out and I'm ready. It's finally time. The other book club I'm in hasn't picked the book yet, so I'm not sure what that will be, but I will be reading that too. Very excited. That was the one that did Endling this month, and that was like such an out there pick and I ended up liking it. So whatever it is, I'm very excited to give it a go, and I'll fill you guys in on it in the next wrap up. That's what we've got on the agenda so far. Pretty much everything else that I read will probably be from the spinny wheel, so definitely keep an eye on my short videos. Go over to my Instagram because that's where I'm most active, so if you want to keep up with me and anything extra that I'm reading, definitely go follow me on there. It's at iona.library. Thank you so much for joining me for this July recap. I had a great time, and if you have read any of these books, liked them or disliked them, please tell me down below. I would love to chat about any of these. If you see books that I love and you have a recommendation for me, I would love that more than anything. So please also leave that down below. Just anything you want, really. I would love to chat. I have Goodreads, Storygraph, Fable and Pagebound, and I'll link those down below as well. If anyone wants to be friends on any of those, please feel free. I try and keep them all up to date. They all do different things and I like them all for different reasons. I don't really love Goodreads, but I was putting stuff into that for years, so my lists are all on there, so I'll delete that eventually. The others are definitely better, but I'm on all 4 of those, so please feel free to add me on any of them. Alright, thank you so much again, guys. I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye!